Hi, I'm Brian. I'm the repair manager for our Roanoke branch, and today we're going to be replacing some pipe boots. It should take approximately about 30 minutes to do each pipe boot. It's not too complicated. The materials we're going to need today are a bundle of shingles, some ice and water shield, and a new boot. You can see this one right here, how it's dry rotted and blown out on the back. And the customer's been complaining about leaks. In order to take the pipe boot out, we're gonna have to remove some shingles. So we're gonna have to start with getting one of these shingles out and then working down from there. Now, in order to get this shingle out here, we're gonna have to go up one higher. To do that, you just take your nail bar and slide it underneath. And you wanna break that seal. And you wanna go down one more shingle and break that seal as well. Now, to get this one out, you have to take the nails out of this shingle right here, because this shingle has these nails here and they're nailed into the headlap of this. We'll start over here. All right, so all those nails are removed here. Now we'll break the seal on this shingle and we'll start pulling the nails. So when you do break the seal, it won't cause any leaks, but it is susceptible to wind damage. So at the end, we always go back and reseal the nail, reseal everything down with caulk to help keep that from being an issue. So now we've got all the nails out, the shingle should just slide right out. And we'll just set that aside. Now it makes it a little easier. All your other nails are revealed. Now here, we're not too worried about being careful, because we're going to be replacing most of these shingles anyway. But it's always good practice to try and be careful. It just makes it easier in the long run. A good tip, trying to keep yourself a little organized, so you're not throwing nails all over the place or picking them up later. These shingles are trash, they can go down. You're really going to be hard pressed to find anything that actually is a 100% perfect match. They typically change the color coding on all the shingles every so often. So you know, that's one thing working against you. And also just natural weathering, staining of the roof, the UV light. You know, the UV from the sun really tends to bake a lot of the color out. If you go into it with the idea of at least you're fixing a problem, you know, you won't be so disappointed at the end when the shingles don't match. A really cool thing with architectural shingles is the way they're installed and they're designed. You can actually create your own bonds as long as you stay within the 6-inch bond spacing. So I could actually take and cut this shingle back here, and it's not going to really mess with the way the roof looks or how it performs, as long as I keep my bonds, you know, where this shingle and this shingle, you know, come together. As long as I keep that spacing 6 inches or better, you know, we're in the clear. Since I don't really want to take out this whole shingle, I really want to kind of keep the repair within this area, so it's not as noticeable. You know, you could take a hook blade and cut it, or since it's wintertime here, I'm going to take a pair of old tin snips that are pretty much worn out and can't cut paper anymore. I'll use them to just cut the shingle and make my own bond. So try and keep your cut as straight as possible. It's a little difficult sometimes. And there you go, we've created a bond. It's more than 6 inches away, and then the next bond in the shingle is over here. So, you know, we got good spacing. So I'm gonna go ahead, and since this is so close, I'm probably just gonna go ahead and just take this whole shingle out. And then this one, I'm gonna create a bond right about here. More than 6 inches from that side, that bond, and that one way over there too. Grab our snips, and we'll go, let's see, right about here. All right, so now we have our pipe boot exposed. Just take all the fasteners out. And not always easy. Sometimes I caulk them on, but there you go. All right, it's always good practice to replace the shingles underneath the pipe, because there's obviously, you know, 3 holes there that we want to make sure get covered up. So we'll take this shingle out as well. you can see the discoloration, how it looks dirty, whereas everywhere else over here and over here still looks clean. That's definitely a sign of how water was getting in. And right here at the bottom, there's still a little bit, it's a little bit damp. So it was an active leak. It just rained a few days ago. Now let's put it back together. All right, we're gonna start with our ice and water shield first. That's gonna go down. What that's gonna do is that's gonna help protect the decking and any water that does, you know, that could potentially get underneath. It'll really help stop it from seeping all the way through. If I could estimate, this roof's probably 15, 20 years old maybe. Some companies don't use ice and water shield, some do. We specifically use ice and water shield because we are Owens Corning certified, and it's one of the punch items that they require for their warranties. So I want to start off with a decent sized target patch. So what I like to do is place your ice and water shield over top of the pipe, and what you're looking to do is just kind of lightly rub it around the pipe, so you can kind of profile the pipe into the ice and water shield. And because it's PVC and cold outside, it tends to cut it. Or you can just take your hook blade and just cut the outline. You can see how it slightly cut it right here. You just kind of take your hook blade and just make a little circle. And then what that's going to do is that's going to get that ice and water shield nice and tight around that pipe. All right, so the ice and water shield's hanging down a little bit below the exposure. What you're going to do is you just want to trim it back just a little bit so it doesn't come out under the exposure. All right, now we're going to install the pipe boot. They already come, it's about 1.5 inch pipe boots. These are universal pipe boots. They can go, you know, from 4 inches all the way down to 1.5 inches, depending on what size pipe. You just kind of cut the ring out. It's all labeled on there for you. Today we're using 1.5 inch pipe, so we don't have to make any cuts. Put it over top, just kind of wiggle it in there. Make sure ice and water shield doesn't move. There you go, and just lay it down. Okay, do a little bit more trimming at the bottom. There you go. We'll throw some fasteners in it and put some shingles back on this thing. Okay, in the front you want to put 3 fasteners in it. That helps stop any lifting of the pipe boot itself. So you want one on the sides, here, and then one in the middle. Cool. And then another thing we like to do is give it a little bit of extra protection and run some ice and water shield around it. Kind of sandwich that pipe into it. Probably cut that a little bit more to slide it down some more. It's uneven. There we go, that's what we're looking for. Throw a couple fasteners in here to keep everything laying down. Doesn't get in our way. All right, now time to put the shingles back in. We're using Owens Corning Estate Gray. I mean, obviously it's, you know, like we mentioned before, it's not gonna be a 100% match, but you know, it's not too far off. Pretty close. The headlaps are always discolored different than the shingles, so that's not really a good example of what the shingle color is. You're just kind of mainly focusing just on this bottom 5 5/8. Trim just a little bit off. Right now we're just kind of getting our preliminary cuts. Find out where the pipe boot goes. And then we'll say it's about that far off the top, so cut up and then just start making a round. And then go to the other side, cut up, and start going around. Make just a little bit of an adjustment, just to get it laid down a little bit further. There we go. Cool, now you want everything to line back up with your exposure lines and then make any adjustments that you need. Our cut's actually pretty good, so we don't need any. Now, nail placement is a very important detail. Owens Corning only requires 4 nails for their standard installation, more if it's a high wind scenario. You want within the first 1 inch of the shingle on the edges, just right in the shore nail strips. One over here as well, and then another here, and then we'll put one right here. You don't want to nail too close to your flange on your pipe. That can cause water. Any water that does, get in through here, it can travel sideways and leak into those nail holes. So we just kind of try and keep as many nails away from the edges as we can, and just really let the material do its job. Trim that up. We're gonna start small this time and walk up to it. That's a lot better. Perfect. Okay, we'll get a small piece to fill that gap in. Okay, slide back into place, get your exposures right, throw some nails in it. All right, now I'm gonna nail these back into place. These are always a little tricky. What happens is, because it's nailed here, you don't get a lot of lift. You tend to kind of not get enough room to nail straight down. So you kind of got to nail sideways a little bit. And what you're trying not to do is chip that shingle with the hammer. It's definitely a trick. Now, being as it's cold outside, the shingles tend to want to buckle a little bit. But once it gets some sun on it, they'll lay down. So there's a good example of the nails, why you have to take them out on the shingle above if you want to get this one out, because you can see how that's nailed right into that headlap right there. And then now we nail all the shingles above it. Try and get another nail in those. That's the tricky part. You never want to put it in the same hole. The wood pretty much loses its ability to grip the nail if you put it in the same hole, so you want to make a new one. Sometimes, if you're careful enough, you can set the nail like that and then just kind of tap it in. Now, you take your caulk gun. A couple things you're looking to do is, on the shingles that you have these, you see these old nail holes, you really want to just seal those up real good. Give it a couple little dabs here and there, just to give it some, just have everything stick back down. And sometimes you have these little flaps. That's a sign of age. There's actually tar strips that run horizontal here and here. And those tend to wear out over time. So to prevent that little tab from blowing off, we'll just put a couple little lines of caulk. Once that dries, that'll seal. Again, just look for your old nail holes. Just give it a few extra little dabs for wind resistance. Again, check your tabs. And then last, get your exposed nails. You can even lift up here and hit that nail too, and then that one there as well. That's it. All the shingles will lay flat over time. Once the sun hits on it, warms it up, and they'll lay flat and no more leak. Oh, hold on. Wait, what's this?